Hi all, let's have a look at some of the fascinating games from the Magnus Carlsen Invitational Tournament. In the final, Magnus Carlsen paired against Hikaru Nakamura. These are the two that made it to the final. So Magnus making it to the final of his own tournament, basically. Can he win his own tournament, or is there extra stress or expectation which might put him off? The time control here, it's a rapid time control, 15 minutes with a 10-second increment. Magnus is playing white in this first game. c4, the English opening. Nakamura plays e5. We see a very well-trodden variation. The English four knights variation. The four knights have come out. g3, d5. This is very well-trodden territory. And bishop e3 here. Okay, bishop e6, rook c1, knight d5. Knight takes, bishop takes, a3, rook e8, queen c2, bishop f6. In this position, which has occurred before in high-level chess, over-the-board chess, longer time controls, queen d7 was seen in Matavishan against Sargassian in the Porto Carras 2018. That was a draw, that game, so the bishops got exchanged. Eventually, it was a draw. But okay, so bishop f6 was chosen here, and we have knight d2. Now a change in pawn structure after knight d4. This is quite fascinating. Sometimes white has to be worried about this e2 pawn becoming a kind of target, but there seems to be an exchange of prisoners about to be taking place after bishop takes. Some exchanges here. And now, in fact, queen takes c7, so quite a lot of exchanges. And is there an interesting point to this after rook takes, queen takes, rook takes? We do indeed see a very, very interesting point, because it looks as though isn't black doing rather well here if white has to play a defensive move like rook c2 to defend the knight. Because surely, if knight c4, there's b5. Well, in fact, there's a twist here, a plot twist. White can actually play knight c4 and not worry about b5 here, dislodging the knight. In fact, Hikaru played rook d8. If he plays b5, can you see what white could play here? Rather nifty indeed, and pretty crucial to understand why this transition to this endgame occurred. There's a key resource here on b5. If I give you 5 seconds, what would you play here? Okay, it's sorted out. Everything's sorted out because of king f3. Yeah, hitting the rook. The king is very, very useful here. If this, then knight d6, and then it can be a disaster for black. And otherwise, it is a total disaster. Rook d8, king takes e2. So knight d6 is so the rook would have to go back, like in the game. It does have to go back. So king f3. So after knight c4, no, this is the game. Knight c4, rook d8, not b5. Just supporting the rook with the other rook. Okay, now we have king f3 anyway here. So there is the threat potentially of knight d6 here. Now bishop g5. Rook b1, rook 2 to e6, a4. So is the knight better than the bishop in this scenario now? h5, b4. White can look forward to a bit of a space gain over here and trying to fragment the black pawns. So this controls the second rank though. There's some prophylaxis here in that both rooks actually are controlling soon the second rank as a prelude to doing anything. So this looks like a pretty safe, solid position for white. And we have now b6, so this fragmentational move. You can see that the black pawn structure has been fragmented, but rook b5 first, not taking on b6. King g6, and now actually another fragmentational move, f4 is played. Very, very interesting. After g takes, you can see that, look at this pawn structure. It really has been fragmented into multiple isolated parts. So has Magnus been looking at the Leela Stockfish match with great interest, and clearly looking to create ripe apples that fall to the ground from these fragmented pawns. So king takes f3, bishop d8. We have rook d5. So trying to actually target this one now, letting the bishop protect that one. Bishop f6, rook b2. There's too much pressure on all these pawns, it seems. So here rook a8, rook takes b6. And it looks as though this simplifies, but hold on, there's pressure there. That b pawn's going. And we reach an endgame here, which is that knight superior to the bishop. Okay, the knight perches on e4. That looks like a very comfortable square for the knight, holding g3. And now the king comes to f3. It looks like white's slightly better pieces here. But is it enough to actually win this position? Let's see what happens. So, okay, is progress being made? Pressure on the e6 pawn there. Some playing around. Some human high-level shuffling, you could say. Check. Knight c4. Is white making progress? Okay. Knight d6 check. Knight comes back, hitting the bishop. Rook takes e6, so white has made progress, winning a pawn. And now, yep, coming to hit h5. So a pawn up here. Is this enough to win this outside h-pawn, or is it still kind of theoretically drawn potentially? Okay, the pawn goes up to be more dangerous. Now there's a crucial moment coming up here. In fact, a brilliant move is played here with a fantastic continuation in mind. Can you see what Magnus played in this position and why it's so absolutely brilliant? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, Magnus to play here for 500 points. A really brilliant tactical little finesse move. Okay. h7. It looks as though it runs into king g6 because that pawn looks as though it's going after that. And what's the big problem for black after that if black can win that pawn? However, after king g6, there's a really fantastic idea here. Can you see? Okay. A forcing move, rook g8 check, tactics in the endgame. After king takes, there's knight f6 check, keeping the king on the h file. So this is actually winning the exchange after rook h8 check. Rook takes. Now there's still work to do here in this position, exchange up. Let's see what happens. It's not that easy actually, but the king comes into this position where the opposition, and now this check here, this spells out disaster for black. The game actually ended here at move 84. Nakamura resigned. So the game ended here, but let's play through to see why exactly. If king f6, then king d5, white plays for rook e4 and to take out this pawn. And it's essential that white plays absolutely perfect here nearly. After king e6, king c5, king d7, and here you might be tempted to move the pawn. That would just draw. White has to create this position with opposition, and this is winning. Just to put this on the board, if d4, this just draws. After king c7, black maintains a drawing resource here in terms of this opposition and getting to this kind of stalemate scenario. So to avoid that, it's important to play king d5 here, and this essentially drives the king out. So now king c6, and white is able to prevent that Zugzwang, that drawing resource, that stalemate resource. The king's too aggressive here. White can just bring up the pawn here, and you can see that the king's easily kicked out with the power of Zugzwang. The king's kicked out. So yeah, there's a little bit of finesse needed in this final position, but Nakamura is not really willing to test Magnus's technique there. Okay, so just resigned here. So Magnus Carlsen won this position after rook e8 check. Nakamura resigned. So the first blood to Magnus Carlsen. So will Magnus Carlsen win this tournament? An interesting quotation from him. Not winning a tournament is not an option for me unless it's no longer theoretically possible. Then, of course, winning becomes impossible. But up until that point, not winning is just not an option. Okay. Will he win? So some more games to come that we're going to look at shortly. Okay. Thanks very much. Oh, by the way, if you want to play me on Turnstile game, much more leisurely time limit, 5 days a move, kingscrusher.tv or bit.ly/chessworld, register there and I'll be able to invite you for a game. There's also my Smarv chat channel, kingscrusher.tv/discord. Those playlists to check out, bit.ly/Leela Chess or bit.ly/Stockfish Chess or bit.ly/Magnus Carlsen Chess. Okay. Comments, questions, like, shares, subscribes, always appreciated. Thanks very much.